Welcome to Gracefully Greying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Gornbein. Please tell all your friends about the Henry Gornbein YouTube channel where you can see many of my podcasts that are now online. We also are about to launch the GracefullyGreying.com website. Today on Gracefully Greying, we are going to be exploring an important issue, and that is next steps for seniors, as we discuss with the founder and CEO, Wendy Jones, about this important company and project. Wendy, welcome to Gracefully Greying.
Thank you so much for having me. And I got to be honest, I am so impressed by what you are doing, and I have such a passion for communicating like you do. So I appreciate this program, Gracefully Greying, and I love the concept.
And one thing we were talking about before we started, not only do you have your company, Next Step for Seniors, but you also do your own radio show.
I do, because like I said, I share the same passion as you. So I started Next Steps for Seniors, the radio show, just to communicate to people, similar to what you're doing on TV, to share, information, knowledge, and educate people so they're better prepared for those next steps, right? But you're Gracefully Greying. I love the name.
Thank you.
You did fabulous with that.
Wendy, tell us what prompted you to found Next Step for Seniors.
So I saw a need in the industry, and I've been in healthcare for 25 years, not to date myself, but...
You started when you were 10.
Right. So because I noticed that people were kind of struggling with what to do and where to go and how to get there and what's covered under insurance and what's not, and because I knew all of this from being in the industry for so long, people would call me already. They would just call and say, hey, what should I do? Where should I put my mom? So the more I started processing through it, I was like, this is similar to real estate. You need help finding a home, you hire a broker.
Right.
So now you need help finding a senior home, right? You hire Next Steps for Seniors, and then we can actually give you a placement specialist to walk alongside you, similar to a real estate agent. So I came up with the business model because I think it's a free service to them, and my placement specialists get a referral fee from the community they move into. But our goal is we care about these people. Like, we want to make sure all these seniors know what to do and know what comes next. So Next Steps for Seniors was created literally 7 years ago, almost 8, because we wanted to help people with those next steps. So many things happen in life and they just don't know. So we literally walk alongside families hand in hand and walk them through the process.
It's so important. And what's interesting, I had a conversation yesterday with a close friend who's retired. I'm not. And he was discussing the fact he lives in a beautiful home, but there's not a first floor master. And the question is, do you downside? Do you move to a condo? And there's so many options out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can go to a senior living community, which is 55 and over, and I've learned you could start in a full apartment, and then if you need services, you keep
move
moving
along. The
up
continuum
the
of care,
ladder,
it's called.
So.
Yep. So for your friend, which I'm glad that he's thinking about it, and that's why you and I do what we do, because we want people to think about it ahead of time. So that's smart. And yes, I usually recommend a first floor master. If you're over the age of 50 and you're moving into a new home, definitely have a first floor master, right? And the chances are high you may never be able to go down the stairs or up the stairs at some point if you plan on staying there a long time. So make sure everything you need is on that main floor. Right, and then eventually, when there comes a time, right, that you can't do the stairs and you need to be able to, they have the little chair lifts.
Right.
There's so many things, and I know we're going to get into that you can do to the home.
Well, let's start with the home, because that's the first thing, and that is you want to age in place. And what I'm finding through this show is more and more people want to age in place. What's interesting, my stepmother is 99. She just moved.
That's amazing, by the way. Like 99 years she's lived on this earth.
She still plays bridge. And she moved she's my stepmother. My actual mother passed away many, many years ago, and
I'm sorry.
she married my father, and they were married for 30 years until he passed away when he was almost 91.
Wow.
And he's been gone for, 17 years now. And so she moved to North Carolina where her son lives,
Okay.
and he lives in a large house. He's a builder, and had a special suite built for her. And she said, no, she lives on the intercoastal.
She doesn't want to live in the
no,
suite. Oh.
she lives in an apartment where most of the people are in their 20s and 30s.
I got people that will sign up for that suite, just so you know. Oh my goodness.
It's one of the shows. It's the second show I did. I mean, life stories are fascinating. You have a lot of things to tell, so I don't mean
and
to
I do have a ton of stories
digress,
too.
so-
But okay, so living in the home.
Okay.
So the number one thing is safety. Okay, so because, and I'm going to tell you why it's safety, because most of the accidents happen to our seniors in the bathroom.
Falls.
It's falls in the bathroom. And so I always say, and the stairs, right? So I always say the number one thing for staying in the home safe is the grab bars. You've got to have grab bars everywhere. And if you want to get nice little pretty ones that look good in your house, I don't care what color they are. They don't have to be the silver ones, but you need them by the toilet. You need them going into the shower. And this is what I tell people. When you're getting into a shower, every place that you touch, there should be a bar.
Makes
so
sense.
a bar here when you step in, a bar inside to get yourself coordinated, and then when you get back out, you grab the outside bar again. So usually 2 bars and usually 1 long one in the shower, okay, and 1 getting in. Then you've got 1 in the bathroom by the toilet for sure. In and up, number 1 place, the number 2 place I should say, is getting in and out of the garage. So when you're pulling in and you're taking that step up into the house, the little lip, you need a bar right there next to the door walking into the house, okay?
That makes sense.
Some of the other places.
What about a ramp?
Ramps
If you have a stair in the garage.
ramps would even be better. If you can just get a ramp coming in. So I do feel like there's a lot of things. Rugs are very dangerous. People trip over them very easily. Little dogs are very dangerous. They get under your feet. They follow
Sure.
you around.
Right.
Please be careful. I just feel like the bed, getting out of the bed, make sure you've got night lights everywhere, because people, our bladders aren't like what they used to be as we age. And if you can try to stop drinking after 6 p.m., it will be helpful. But if you continue to have liquids, definitely put night lights in the bedroom, in the bathroom, everywhere you're going to go to get to that bathroom, you've got to have night lights. So those are just small things, but I think they're critical for safety purposes.
What about counters? I've heard that counter heights can be important. Well, I guess if you have a wheelchair, you need to lower counters. And
I totally agree with you, and it depends, right? Closets are hard because you can't reach up, so they build them now where you've got the double bar on the bottom. So I think that's important when you're looking at your home. And countertops, again, getting under maybe the sink in the bathroom, not putting cabinets there and having a cabinetry next to it. So things like that you can be thinking about and make those changes. I think getting in and out of bathtubs is the hardest thing. And if you can convert to showers and not have a lip, it would be the easiest, because then you can wheel in and out wheelchairs.
Sure.
But it's got to be a little plastic thing, and they make them so that the water doesn't drip out onto the floor so you don't fall. But yeah, those are some ideas.
let's say someone doesn't know whether to age in place in a house or move to a condo or perhaps go to a senior facility. Tell us some of the steps you do when you're dealing with those issues.
I like that question. So being at home is great, and I definitely encourage it as long as you possibly can. Some of the things that are the first to go to be looking for, these are just signs and symptoms, and I have a whole packet we'll go through in a little bit with a list of those. But people forget paying bills is the number one thing. Writing checks and sending in bill paying gets to be challenging. Keeping a check register, remembering who you paid, who you didn't pay. The next thing is medications. forgetting whether you took them, what you took, or when you're taking it. And that will lead to a hospital visit. If you're on a heart medication and you haven't taken it for 3 days and you forgot. Another one is nutrition. Obviously, we want to make sure everybody's eating. I've gone into people's homes and met with them and asked them what they had for breakfast, and they said eggs and bacon, and they went through this whole thing. And then I went and said, okay, well, let's go through your refrigerator and guess what was in the refrigerator? No eggs, no bacon, no. So we got to remember that we're trained to answer these questions. People know what they're supposed to have for breakfast, right? But number one, if you see weight loss in your loved one and they're by themselves in a house, they may not be eating correctly. And it's a concern, and it catches us by surprise.
Sure.
It catches us by. So I would say keep an eye out on the medication management, the hygiene, weight loss. I just had a lady call the office this morning, as a matter of fact, and it was a niece because her aunt lives in Michigan. And she said she went to the house and she just started crying because she had no idea that her aunt was in such bad shape.
So that's what's frightening, because a lot of people, they lose a loved one, they stay in the house, they live alone, and unless you have children or siblings who are close by, then there could be serious problems.
And that's exactly what happened in the situation. The niece lives in Florida. So she comes up once a quarter, once every 6 months, however often. She had no idea it had gotten this bad. So we were able to step in. She called my company. She was the aunt was in the hospital, so she called me, and we went over to the hospital and met with the aunt, and she's actually moving today to an independent living place that's going to have 3 meals a day, housekeeping services. They give her medications. It's going to be perfect for her. She's going to have socialization. She's actually very excited because she was lonely. She was very lonely, and she's 83, I think.
And I know loneliness is a big issue. I've touched on that with some therapists who've been guests on the show. And, when you lose a loved one, it's like as you get older, your friends die off. It's like being the last leaf, so to speak.
I know. I know. And your siblings, sometimes if you're the youngest and you've lost all of your siblings, you've had to go through your parents and then all your siblings passing. And many people don't even have children at this point either. So then they're like, who do I rely on? That's why there's companies like what we do out there that can help.
So you help with housing. You help, as you say, the next step for seniors. And so if someone's downsizing or moving, do you work with realtors?
We do. Yep. So our focus is really helping them move into assisted living, independent living, memory care, and group homes. And there's a lot of differences between those, which I can go into the differences because there is a lot. But all the other services we refer out to we have a lot of resources we use. So we use transportation companies. We have attorneys like yourself. We have real estate people. Estate sale people that will help sell the house, or that will help get all the stuff out of the house, right? A lot of people have carried a lot of stuff if they're in that house for 60 years. So we can give you resources for all of that. But our primary focus is to help them physically move into the senior community.
So take us through some of the things that you do.
Okay. So like this particular woman moved into independent living. So I love independent living because you have your own apartment and you're still independent. So you can stay at home, and I advise it as long as you can. But when there comes a point in time where you're scared or you're nervous or you're lonely or you're not eating correctly or you're missing your meds, that's when you need support services. And there is absolutely a lot to gain by going to an independent living community. Now you have people in the same thing that you're going through right with you. And it's not sitting around a table playing bingo. Let me tell you, these people are doing Wii bowling. They're living the high life. They're on a bus going to the casino together. These guys are having a blast.
So there are a lot of
happy hour. Oh, there's so much going on. So you have your own apartment. You have your own bedroom, bathrooms, kitchen. Everything's right there for you.
What are the typical ages that you're dealing with?
Ages?
Yes.
I would say the average age in a senior community is between 80 and 84.
Okay.
We do have people we've moved in the 70s, easy. It depends on your health. It depends on your health. But you've got independent living like I just described, then you've
Right.
got assisted living, which is double the price, and you've got an RN on staff, and you've got all these other services for you for assisted living. And then memory care, which we know is on the rise, as sad as it is a secured community. So community that you can't get in and out because they're nervous they might leave. They're always trying to go somewhere. They don't know where they are. It's a very sad state, but there's a lot of care in a memory care community. And I think they're important, and we know where they're all located, and we can help you find those.
They're everywhere. I mean,
They're
what's
going
interesting,
up all over, I know.
It's like, well, one thing when I started this concept, I learned in Michigan, over half the population is 50 and over. And it's also the population that has the greatest wealth and is going to be in more and more need for all these services that you're talking about in Next Step for seniors.
Right, right. And I'll tell you, when you look at all these beautiful places, they're not cheap. I'm going to give you the average pricing
That's
so
what I'm
you know.
saying.
So independent living is about $3,000 a month, but that includes 2 meals a day and some services, but you have to pay extra for care. Assisted living is about $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and that's, again, they add on little extras here and there. Memory care averages about $7,000 a month if you need a secured community. A nursing home is about $8,500 a month if you're private paying. So your next question is going to be, how do people afford all that, right, for 2 or 3 or 4 years? And just so you know, we started a foundation for low-income people that we're actually helping give them senior scholarships to cover the gap between maybe their Social Security and what they can afford. Do you know the average Social Security in Michigan is almost $1,348 a month?
That doesn't go anywhere.
$1,300. So even the least expensive independent living place, like I talked about, so we're giving them between $50 and $400 a month to help bridge the gap so they can move into a safe community through the foundation.
That's wonderful.
I love what we do for people.
It
It's
sounds
so
like
fun.
you're doing a lot to help people. And costs, I mean, let's say someone has $1 million in savings, that can be wiped out in 3 or 4 years if there's tremendous
Or
needs.
this is what happened to someone that I had recently, ended up with a brain tumor, spent all of his money for 3 years, 24/7 care for 3 years because he had brain surgery. Now he's fine, but he has no money. He spent every dime that he has saved, just like you said. He had over $1 million. He was a physician. Now he's living off of Social Security and pension, and it's not a lot, it's not $5,000 a month, I can tell you that.
It's frightening.
It is frightening. It is frightening. But what's important too, everyone thinks everything's covered by insurance. It's not. Medicare covers the doctor's visit and covers 20 days in a rehab. After that, when they tell you, I'm sorry, you need to leave the rehab, you're on your own. You're paying the bill. It's called private pay. And everyone's like, isn't that covered under insurance? It's not.
Well, isn't there also a revolving door? I mean, I've done a show on doctors who specialize in nursing home care and hospital, and what I learned is the fact that you have this time period, then you go back home, and often there's another medical emergency, and you start all over again. The
Right.
hospital, and then the assisted living facility or rehab center, then home, and then
Right.
back.
Yeah. And what I tell people is if you've been to and from the hospital more than 3 times in 6 months, you need to call us. We need to help you get into a safe environment. You don't want to keep going back to the hospital. If you're falling or something's happening and that's recurring, we got to make a change. We really need to.
How broad is the area that you cover? The entire metropolitan area? or
Southeast Michigan.
Southeast Michigan.
Yes. Yes, and I have a team. I have an excellent team of placement specialists. So
Well,
we
how many
assign the
people are
placement
on your
specialists.
staff? I mean,
We've
this
got
is your...
we've got 10 placement specialists that are really, like I said, we assign a placement specialist to every family. So each placement specialist could have between 10 and 20 families that they're working with at one time. But it's really important to have a live person, not Google or the internet, or you want to physically talk to someone.
Right.
You want someone to come to the hospital. You want someone to go on the tour with you. You need someone right there. I mean, we've had people walk into our office. Our office is in Rochester, and sit down and face to face, just like we're having this conversation. You don't need to do everything through the internet all the time. It's not, in this type of setting, you want a face-to-face person that actually is listening to you and cares about you.
Plus, you have answers. The internet, there's a lot of misinformation. And plus,
Right.
if you Google something, all of a sudden you're hit with all these ads and people calling you, and you don't know what's real and what's...
And we've been in every single place that we have ever referred anybody to. We personally have been there. We've checked it out. We've done the background checks. We only work with licensed facilities when it comes to AFC, adult foster care homes. There's a lot of them out there that aren't licensed. People don't know this stuff. And that's why you need to trust someone like our company that can help you do this. Otherwise, you could be in the car driving around to 15 different places and not even know half of them you saw weren't even licensed by the state of Michigan.
Now, one thing I've learned, it's very hard for family members who to have this conversation.
Oh, it's impossible.
Telling a loved one, a parent, a sibling, that you can no longer drive, or you really have to move out. And so, do you deal with these a lot?
I do. I have a recommendation on that.
Tell us.
I highly recommend having the conversation early, like before it even comes close to happening. So you can say, hey, I heard Gracefully Greying today, and they were talking about, and if your mom is, let's say she's 75, 76, have that conversation now, because you're probably 50-something, right? And don't wait till they're 89 or 99 years old.
Not there yet.
But I'm talking to your stepmom who's 99. But so you want to have those conversations early and say, listen, let's talk about the plan, because you live in Florida and I live in Michigan, or because you only have 2 children, and whatever the cases are. What do you want, Mom? Tell me what you want. Have the discussions early. And when you can't drive, how do you want us to go about doing that? Because I'll tell you what, I want my kids to take away my keys before I go hurt somebody on the road. I absolutely want that to happen. Now, it's the hardest thing to lose is your driver's license.
Especially in this area.
Number one, hardest thing to do. But let me tell you what's harder. Hitting a 2-year-old little boy who ran out in front of you because you don't have the reflexes to stop and hit the brake quick enough. So to me, I'll take the keys away. We got Uber, we got all these great transportations right here in this state that you can call at any point and have a car at your door within 2 minutes. You don't need to get behind the wheel.
Tell us about some of the other services that you provide.
So really, I think the important thing to know is if you ever end up in the hospital, that you should try to reach out to our company. And here's why. There's 2 different things, just so your viewers know. There's observation and there's admission. And I think what's important to know about a hospital stay is Medicare covers if you're admitted to the hospital. But if you're in observation and you're not physically admitted into the hospital, that's when insurance isn't going to step in, and you don't qualify potentially for that rehab stay I talked about earlier, for the 20 days in rehab. Sure. So you want to get out of that hospital sooner if you can and get into a safe environment. We can help you get into a respite or a short-term stay, they say, versus staying in the hospital and paying exorbitant fees. So we can get you into a safe place. So that's a really important one. So I just encourage people, if you're in the hospital or you have a loved one who's fallen or anything tragic has happened, and that's obviously a reactionary thing, but definitely call us. I'd much rather have the call before something happens so we can coach you on what to look for, like we're doing today.
Well, what are some other things? I mean, loss of memory, early stage of dementia, having an illness, especially one that's neurological.
Yeah.
These are key things, but what are some other things that really should trigger someone saying, Wendy, next steps for seniors, we need you.
We need you. So a death in the family. So if husband and wife have been together for 60 years and somebody passes away, that would be a time. And it's because you're lonely. We talked about that. So I think that's a good time to get us involved. A hospital stay is a good time. When you lose your license is a good time. Any of those services, we can step in and come alongside you. We work with home care companies that can come into your house to keep you there. So you're at home, safe, but then you have people coming in during the day too. But I wanted to show you because I brought this.
Yes, because we less than 3 minutes. So
okay,
please
I
show us
brought
what
this
you have.
this folder that we put together for you. So this is the company. We educate families, advocate for seniors, promote independence. This is the foundation. Support financially, assist physically, and share spiritually. Remember I told you that we give up to $400 a month on a senior scholarship. So we're looking for funds right now so we can get some more funds to help more people. And then here are some of the things at no cost to you that we provide that I just kind of put together to show, and we talk through, you know, the different things. Here's all the things to be concerned about: medication, meal preparation, safety, personal hygiene, and ambulation, getting around up and down the steps. And then obviously there's a lot of different senior housing options out there that people aren't aware of: independent, assisted, memory care for dementia, AFC homes that are personal homes, literally, that people move into that are licensed by the state of Michigan.
Wow.
So that's, I mean, there's a lot of options. It's AFC home is a great option for a nursing home. If you can't afford a nursing home at $8,500, you can move into an AFC home for half that price, and they do full care for you. And there's a lot of them out there, but like I said, you got to be careful. You want to make sure that it's covered and a licensed facility through the state of Michigan.
So you really, it's like you ferret through the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, to help people on the right road for next steps for seniors. Wendy, we have less than 1 minute. What are some 3 takeaways to share with our viewers before we sign off on today's episode of Gracefully Greying?
I would say don't wait too long. Try to have a conversation with your loved ones as soon as possible. And it's got to be focused around safety and that you care about them and you want them to be around a long time, so you want them to be safe. So have the conversation. Please keep an eye on the driving. There's too many people. I had a guy yesterday driving the wrong way down Walton Boulevard. Please get in the car, drive with your loved ones, watch that. I want you to be in the car and you watch them. And if you don't feel safe, guess what? They shouldn't be driving. And there's a lot of options that I can help with that. So have them call my office. And lastly, know that there's companies like mine available that can help you free of charge, walk you through that process. It's definitely worth a phone call.
Wendy Jones, Next Step for Seniors. We're out of time. I want to thank you so much for being my guest on Gracefully Greying. What you're doing is wonderful. And I want to thank you for watching Gracefully Greying.